Hey, Word Saints. Father Chris here alongside Deacon Greg. Glad to have you beautiful people with us as we begin a new week at our crucifixional live stream. Glad to have all of you Warrior Saints with us. We, excuse me, have a great conversation coming up today. We did a little work, but I want to start, Deacon. I'm going to tell them a story. It's kind of on me, but it really opens up something I think that we as humans need to master. So last week, there was an individual who is a catechumen. What that means, this person is studying, seeking to become an Orthodox Christian, and is going through one of the requirements we have is to go through, study. I mean, catechesis, right? Study, education. So he's in the class, and he's struggling because his work won't let him off. And he's a good dude. I mean, really, I like him, and it's like I was willing to work with him, help him figure it out. But he's bold, and he's like, no. I want to fight this. Like, I want to tell work that, like he felt like it was religious persecution. Maybe so. I said, look, I will gladly draft you a letter that says, to whom it may concern, this person is in the class. He needs to be there. It's a requirement that mandatory that we have set. Please, let him come, and we appreciate. The mistake I made was, he caught me at the end of class when it was like, I don't have any. It's at the end of a long day, and it's at the end of class. And you know this. We give 100% when we teach, so I'm empty. I'm probably empty anyways. So I said, do me a favor. Reach out to my office tomorrow, and they'll get the letter drafted. We probably even already have a template for it. I said, okay. Well, he did what he said. The next day, he reached out to the staff, and they didn't know that I said that to him. Now, keep in mind, and you know this because you drafted it, to all of those people in our catechumen class, you had already sent to them an email that said, it's mandatory, He could have just used that email for, to take to his workplace. Well, I had told him, I'll write you the letter. You had already sent the email out to them. He asked, the staff responded, hey, we've already, sent that email, handle it, right?
Yeah.
And so now where's he? He's like, it looks like we look like a mess.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, it did. So,
yeah, and I mean, I'll take responsibility for my part in that. I didn't know, and I just said, well, we already sent the letter, so just use that letter, and it should suffice. That's my fault.
No, it's not a fault. I appreciate that. The stones to own that, but I bring it up because it's an interesting question. And we just had a staff meeting with our team here to talk about, all right, how do we not do that? To which you came up with the solution to it. And just for all of our beautiful people out there, the solution that Deacon Greg came up was have him send me an email. He wants a letter from me, even if I don't deal with it, even if my assistant beats me to the email and she handles it, at least that way it's coming directly to me and I can say yay or nay and handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
And if there's something that you need to deal with directly, send it to you. Don't send it to me, send it to you, and so on.
Yeah.
It's a simple fix. I don't know why I didn't think of it, but the truth of the matter is I made the goof. All of that rambling set up to say this. Let's talk about it. Right. So one of the things we said in our staff meeting, that just because somebody has something on their to-do list does not mean they need to offload it onto my to-do list.
Yeah. Well, using that example that you just brought up, the reason that I just said that, just use the email that we've already written, is I was in the middle of stuff. It came across my desk. Let's just get it done quickly. Quickly, in my mind, was you already have an email in your possession that should work for it. So just go for it and use that. I got sucked into what I felt was urgency. And because I had my own urgency, my own to-do list, my own stuff that I was working on, I just jumped and reacted quickly in that moment. Didn't even think through, well, was there another conversation that was had? Maybe we should talk to Father about this. I know you had your own stuff that you were working on, so I didn't want to bug you with something that maybe I should be handling to take it off of your plate. So there's all that stuff that goes into it every time the initial problem starts. And that initial problem is we feel like we're being sucked into somebody else's to-do list just because they have the urgency. They have the need. And they want an answer, and they're standing right in front of you, the way that you're sitting right across from me right now. And so you want to give them the answer right then, right there, and make it happen for them.
Yeah. So I think in what you just said, it gives us a lot of different directions to go today. One of them is the necessity that we have to set boundaries and
Mm.
produce systems so that not even just to keep people off, but so that we don't make mistakes.
Yeah, so that we know what's clear. We know what we're doing, and we have a system so that we know how we're working and functioning and
Right.
doing what we're doing, at least internally in our office.
Absolutely. That's one of them. The other is you've got to learn how to, in setting those boundaries, to say no. Number three, you brought up a good point. How do you not allow yourself to get drawn into another person's urgency? Like it may be important but not urgent. It may be important and urgent to them. It may be neither important nor urgent to you. You have to figure that out. The other thing is like we often we jump. You said it. I think how you said it was don't jump into everything, right? We have a good one for that. And the other things, like it's a fallacy. I think that, I have been privy to and plagued with is that you can do anything, but you cannot do everything, right? Anybody who thinks they can do it all is fooling themselves. If you devote yourself to one, maybe two tasks, two real goals, you can accomplish them. But when you try to do everything, you're gonna make a mess.
Well, especially if you allow yourself to be sucked into other people's urgency, because now you think that your job is to not only do everything, but fix everything for everyone else
Yeah.
around you. And, it might come from a desire to help and it might come from a good place, but at the same time, it's going to drive you a little bit insane. Like I'm dealing with that all over my life.
Yeah.
Just I feel like I'm constantly being sucked into other people's urgencies, their need for it to be immediate when I'm looking at it. I'm like, this is not an immediate thing. It's certainly not something that I have to deal with in the immediate future.
So let's start there. Let's just go after that. The temptation that we all face to get sucked into other people's urgency. Things that matter to them. Do they need to matter as much to us as they do to them? Do they need to matter at all? Maybe they matter more to us than even that person recognizes. And then conversely, we need to make sure we ain't doing that to somebody else, right? I do that all the time. I know I do that to all you guys. Like, hey, do this, fix this. What about that? And I just barge in and I work on it. I know I'm probably the biggest culprit, so probably I'm going to learn more from today's conversation than anybody else.
No, I
hopefully.
think I'm going to learn a lot too, because we all have a tendency to Miley Cyrus the situation and then be Miley Cyrus ourselves.
All right. I confess. What's the lyric?
It comes in like a wrecking ball.
Oh, I don't know how I missed that. All right. Well done. Touche. Touche. Yeah, but it does. It comes out of nowhere and just, it's funny. Like, do this experiment, Warrior Saints. Do this with people out there. Trust me, it works 100% of the time. Ask somebody, I'm sorry, what time is it? And they automatically, without thinking, will look at their watch. I do this often to people just to say, look, I don't care what time it is. I just want you to know that I said something and you jumped at it, right? So that's one of the, offer somebody the time when they ask. But my point in doing that experiment is it's an involuntary knee-jerk reaction to respond to what time is it. We do that with how many things, right? Like when people come to us and have questions or need things. And I think you said it right, because we love them. We want to help. We want to fix. That's just who we all are as people. But is that really, is that the right thing to be doing? And if not, we'll talk about it in the rest of the episode. How do we stop that?
Yeah. Well, I think the result of what it leads to is, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, just you and I sitting and chatting, that idea of decision fatigue.
Yeah.
And you're just feeling constantly like you're being pulled in so many different directions. And like all of it is immediate. And so it adds a layer of urgency that you then get sucked into. And then it constantly feels like you're behind, which then makes you feel like you're just needing to just gunsling answers.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make a mess because none of them are actually thought through. None of them are actually of any value. It's interesting. It reminds me a lot of, in the book of Revelation. And I know we talked about Revelation at the end of last week, and we have that teaching up about Revelation. So it's fresh in my mind. But in Revelation in chapter 3, where it talks about, I know your works, you are neither cold nor hot. Would that you were cold or hot. Because you are lukewarm and neither cold nor hot, I will spew you out of my mouth. And I think of this often, like I'm in my being dragged around to everyone's urgency. I am becoming lukewarm. I'm not just going at anything with my full attention.
Yeah.
I'm allowing myself to be dragged, and I'm allowing myself to be, to be dragged. Like
Yeah.
it literally feels like you're being dragged. You're not going where you want to go. And that doesn't feel good. It feels like it feels like you're out of control.
Yeah.
You have no control over your life because everything you're doing is lukewarm.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. So let's pick that one apart. I mean, obviously, as well as, I mean, you share it with me. We're high on Revelation right now. We just did a teaching on it, and in our Understanding the Bible series, and it's a fabulous book. I mean, it's unbelievably beautiful. And this verse that you cited in chapter 3, lukewarm. The author of Revelation, the seer John, is calling, the faithful Christians who are being persecuted. Hey, man, don't get wishy-washy, right? Endure to the end. Maintain your faith, even if it costs you your life. That's what he's saying. So don't get wishy-washy or lukewarm on it. But I think that and it's an idea we've talked about before. Your faith and the way you act in your faith should be the model for the way you act in the rest of your life. Like, in other words, your MO, I keep using that, your modus operandi on how you maintain your faith should be the model, the template for how you behave with a spouse, behave in the workplace, behave at the gym, and all the rest of stuff.
Yeah. I mean, without question, because faith is an action. Faith is a verb. Faith is something that we put into action. We do and we live. Right. And so how we are with that faith then just becomes how we are with everything that we approach in life and are faced with in life.
So then I guess we can at least get to the point, the conclusion, at least number one, at this point, to say, all right, it is important that we realize as warrior saints, we cannot get sucked into, and like you said, dragged around to other people's to-do lists, and to do so, forgive me, willy-nilly, without paying attention, without being, we've got to be deliberate, and to use a cliche, term du jour, intentional about what we respond to, what we get involved with, and so on. And maybe in the rest of this episode, we can have a convo through some of those steps, which was probably a good thing. So, I think it's great stuff right there. I mean, it's a great stuff because it sets the question. It poses the challenge that we're trying to overcome. How do we gather a sense of peace in our lives by being not so crazily overwhelmed and jumping into every single person's to-do list? Yeah, I think it's worthwhile.
I think it's great. And I think it's especially important for us to, I don't know, as we're going through that process and as we're going through those steps, like there's so much that hits us as far as cluing us into some steps that we can take to make that stuff happen. Like the urgency that we were talking about is one thing. I think there are so many other things. Like you said earlier about boundaries, and that the need for boundaries and setting clear boundaries and then maintaining those boundaries. And I know you talk all the time, you say it regularly, and it's really hard for me. The second most important word after Lord have mercy in the English language being no. Can you talk a little bit more about that and how you see that and where you see that going and in the boundaries?
Absolutely, because it's to me the most important thing in setting those boundaries, and you know this too. I mean, and we all, or at least I speak for myself, but I mean, I know I'm right when I say most, if not all of us, we have the desire to want to help people, and to solve their problems, to fix. I mean, some people I get are just lazy and like don't want to deal with it. It seems to be, maybe it's a growing phenomenon, but most people want to say yes. We hate to say no to, the request of another person. And that includes not just helping them with work, but an invitation to a party.
Mm-hmm.
or a luncheon, or let's go for coffee or something. And we tend to have no boundaries over our time. I don't have it in there to show you, but God help us if they saw my calendar and
Mm.
what I've allowed to happen in my life. Um, it's mind blowing. So I think the first thing we have to recognize is that, and we'll maybe come to this in a moment, but you can do anything, as we said earlier, but you can't do everything. It's impossible to say yes to this and yes to this at the same time in two different locations. And yet that's the kind of stuff we all do. So it presupposes, I guess, that initially, like we talked about, you led us to a minute ago, we got to set boundaries. And in order to do that, you have to become adept at using the word no. Right? I mean,
Yeah, I think it's perfect. And you have to be deliberate about what you are saying yes to and what you are saying no to. Right? Like I'm always reminded about in the Sermon on the Mount when Christ talks about this stuff and he gets into this stuff and he really just makes it very clear what we're called to do. He says, "Let what you say be simply yes or no. Anything more than this comes from evil." And I think what he's showing us is you got to be all in or all out.
yeah.
This and it goes back to the lukewarm stuff that we talked about earlier, but like you're either all in and you're all out. Like what you're doing, do.
Yeah.
And what you are not doing, don't do.
Right.
But don't have like one foot in each spot. Like I love watching my kids play with each other. Like they could be ignoring a toy completely. But the minute the other one grabs it, all of a sudden that was the toy that they were about to play with that they wanted. It's their favorite toy and it's very special to them.
Yeah.
My daughter tells us all the time things are very, very special to her. But like, and then the boys learned the word mine. So he's walking around just
Yeah.
mine, no, mine. Actually, that's your sister's. No, mine. I'm like, all right, have fun with the pink unicorn. But like, it's just running into all of this stuff. We don't want something until we see someone else doing it. And then we're always left lost.
Yeah. FOMO.
FOMO.
Yeah.
And so this yes or no, this like lukewarm thing, or where we say yes to something so far out and then it starts to come and we're like, oh my gosh, I have no desire to go do that now. Or we said no, but then the party's about to happen and we're like, I don't want to be left out. There's that FOMO.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden we want to change. And it's mind boggling.
Yeah.
And it's mind numbing.
Yep.
More than it is mind boggling.
Yep.
So how do you get through that as far as setting boundaries on this yes or no? I mean, we've switched into talking about how we respond to invitations, but also with that desire to help. Can you actually fully help someone if you're unfocused?
You can't. So here's one of the things that I do, and I'll throw it out there to share with our audience, is I really believe, and I do it myself, you have to say no to 95% of opportunities and requests and invitations that come your way. And many people are like, what are you talking about? But I mean, 95% of the stuff that comes my way, you have to say no to for a million reasons. One, and this is just, some, it may be a larger scale than many. I mean, this as well as I do. We have 1,000 people in this community. There's no way we could be with all of them all of the time. I mean, it's just impossible. As much as we love them and they love us, it's just, obviously it's impossible. We did the math. Remember that? We did the math that said, if all the work that you and I did was to sleep 5 hours a night, which obviously is not enough, and the only work we did during the whole week was the 3 hours of church on Sunday morning, with our 1,000 people, that would leave us 6 hours, 6 and change a year for each of them. I mean, and you can see how stupid that is because it doesn't include real sleep or meals or Bible studies or teaching online, our podcast, our videos. It doesn't include weddings, sacraments, baptisms, hospitals. It doesn't include exercise. It doesn't include time with watching your kids fight over toys or be with you. It includes nothing. It's impossible to. So you have to say no to the majority of things that come your way. I mean, it's just otherwise it's impossible. And that presupposes, which maybe we can make our next topic, in this flow is, what are those 5% of things that you decide to say yes to, right?
Yeah.
So as an example, what I say no to, and you know this, for a few years now, I have said no to any invitation on a Saturday night. And it stemmed from a beautiful wedding that I went to, beautiful people. We did the sacrament, I went to the reception, and, it was lovely. I mean, black tie, music was loud though, and everyone's, champagne toast this, and Father, have a glass of wine, and the music was so loud. I was sitting next to people, and like you have to scream and all that stuff to hear and to talk and to hear. And as we left, I looked at my wife. I'm like, I'm totally buzzing. My body was like, "Blah," you know what I mean? I went home. I went to sleep. Went to church the next morning. My sermon sucked because I was tired. My head was pounding. You know what I mean? And it was like, what are we doing? The number one responsibility I have as a priest in a parish is to preach the gospel. That's the first thing I'm supposed to be doing. And I didn't give my people anything of value because I was out the night before. So I finally said, and I told everybody, I mean, I even said it. And now they, God bless them, they all know. I said, look, I'm not going out on Saturday nights. You deserve better on Sunday morning. And so in order for me to give you better, I have to be home. Even if I don't study on Saturday night, I'm home resting, preparing my body and my mind. So you have to say no. And so I say no respectfully to all Saturday night invitations, events, wedding reception. I mean, we do marriages on Saturdays, but I don't go to the parties anymore. As much as I love it. I mean, I totally enjoy being there. But my first responsibility is to preach. And, anyways, that's what I do.
Yeah,
So,
no, I mean, it makes sense. It's a good template to figure out how to apply it in your life and where to go. And I think it's totally, really just great stuff that clues us in to what we're doing and gives us a way to make that stuff happen. And yeah, I'm really grateful for that insight.
Thank you. Appreciate those words. So I think then it goes into the next question, which we can address. All right, what is the 5%, right? And one of the things that I read a great book. You read it too. 10x is easier than 2x by a duo, Sullivan and Hardy, right? Is that right? Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan. I think I don't know how I even found the book. I just like the title 10x.
Yeah, Ben Hardy and Dan
Sullivan. All right, so we read that book. We read it as a staff and as a team. And their theory was kind of Pareto principle, right? That 80%, if you're going to do your best work, you got to find your 20%, right? Like 20%, they use 20 and 80%. 80% of what we do, which is probably even low, but of what we do is unnecessary or can be delivered and offloaded to someone else who's better at it than you and who enjoys doing it and can do, better at that work. So what's the 5%? I say, they say 20%. Either way, the point is you've got to narrow down what you're looking at and what you're doing and focus. Like, look, Jethro is great, right? I mean, we talked about this long ago on our Warrior Saints platform, but the Jethro principle, I will set the stage, but Moses and Jethro is his father-in-law. And so to set the tone, Moses is sitting out there on the platform all day long while the people are on the Exodus, and he's judging, meaning he's deciding between their disputes and all that kind of stuff. And his father Jethro is like, son, what in the Sam hell are you doing, right? You can't do this and do well. So he gets in his case and he says the following. I mean, can we read it? Is it good?
Yeah.
From Exodus chapter 18. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go back a little from what you have on your screen. But Moses said to his father-in-law, because the people come to inquire of God. When they have a dispute, they come to me and I decide between a man and his neighbor, and I make them know the statutes of God and his decisions. And in verse 17, Moses' father-in-law said to him, what you are doing is not good. You and the people with you will wear yourselves out, for the thing is too heavy for you. You are not able to perform it alone. Listen now to my voice. I will give you counsel, and God be with you. You shall represent the people before God and bring their cases to God. And you shall teach them the statutes and the decisions, and make them know the way in which they must walk and what they must do. Moreover, choose able men from all the people, such as fear God, men who are trustworthy and who hate a bribe, and place such men over the people as rulers of thousands, of hundreds, of fifties, and of tens, and let them judge the people at all times. Every great matter they shall bring to you, but any small matter they shall decide themselves. So it will be easier for you, and they will bear the burden with you. If you do this, and God so commands you, then you will be able to endure, and all this people will also go to their place in peace. So, I mean, this one I think plays right into that 5% or, Sullivan Hardy's 20%, the 10X. Like, Moses needs to talk to God and then turn around and tell the people. right? Like, and then if the people want something to go to God, they tell Moses and he tells God. So his sole function is to, communicate directly with God. Judging the disputes, the minor stuff, get some good quality men, right? Like he's passing off to able-bodied men, such as fear God. That's what it said in the text, right?
Yeah.
Let them figure this stuff out. And if something comes that's like insanely huge, let them bring it to you, right? There can always be exceptions, but let them do their business. You do your business. So all of my rambling, and then I'll turn it loose to you, right? You got to figure out what's your 5%. Moses figured out Jethro told Moses
Yeah.
what it was, but your 5% is to deal directly with God on behalf of the people and vice versa. What's your 5%, right? I mean, I know for me, I've worked on, I know what it is. I'm sure you have the same, right? I mean, so I think in all of this Father Chris's ramblings, in this whole conversation is you got to figure out what's the 5% that you're going to say yes to.
Yeah. I think you got to figure out, what are you able to do? What is your skill set?
Yeah.
What are the things that you're really, it's interesting the way that the Jethro principle goes on in Exodus. Moses, as he puts it into action, says he gave heed to the voice of his father-in-law and did all that he had said. Moses chose able men out of all of Israel, made them heads over the people, rulers of thousands, of 15s, of 50s, and of 10s. They judged the people at all times. Hard cases they brought to Moses, but any small matter they decided themselves. Then Moses let his father-in-law depart, and he went his way to his own country. So it even clues us in there.
Yeah.
He finds the people that are able to do it, that he trusts explicitly. There are those things that he will still need to take care of. And his father-in-law is the most fascinating to me in this whole thing. He came in kind of like a consultant.
Yeah.
Gave him his recommendations, and then departed to his own country. He went his own way. He's not going to stay and figure out for Moses how to implement it. He's not going to stay and make sure Moses listens. He came in, he said his piece, basically goes on his way. He's done. He did what he came to do. And he saw it through without exception. And he left and he went back to his own country and, all right, go. Yeah. Do or don't do what I suggested. But if you're going to do it, then do it. And I'm out.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately, I think what you led us to there in this little segment it's pretty clear. I mean, maybe you need a consultant, a guide, right? Like that's what we're doing. But discover or even allow someone to help you, i.e. the consultant, guide, whole thing. Allow someone to help you understand what is your 5%. And then, then you can devote your attention to it. Then you can devote all of your effort and all of your attention to that.
Yeah.
All right. I think that's great stuff.
I don't disagree. I think it's fantastic stuff. And it's something that you can implement in your life right now.
Yeah. All right. So then to that point, I was thinking about, all right, so then it just shifts us into the next topic. What Moses did was he didn't decide, like this again goes back to that book, 10X, 2X. He didn't answer the question, well, how am I going to judge between all these people? After his father-in-law gave him that enlightening perspective, he decided who's going to do it. And he went out and chose people who could handle those things. And I think this goes back to our original question, right? Getting stuff off your to-do list. How do you get to people? How do you handle all of the mundane things in life, but that they have to be done, right? You can't not do them. Great example. I have very blessed with an executive assistant, tremendous human being. Keeps me straight. I got so lost and bogged down in my emails and in my scheduling that I had no time to be with people. Like we were talking earlier, those 6 hours a year you have. I didn't even have that because I was doing all that. So I said, her name's Happy. I said, Happy, you're going to handle my email. It's just, so all the emails that come in, she handles and responds. Some of it, she doesn't know what to say, or some of it is private. She gets it to me. But for the most part, she's like responding and handling it. Same with my scheduling. You cannot book an appointment with me unless you go through her. Like I had to be that rigid because if I didn't, I was going to make a mess. So it's not like I'm, passing it off. she handles all of my scheduling. Everyone gets on my calendar through her. I said to my bride, I was like, hey, she's like, when are we going to dinner? Let's go on a date. I'm like, all right, call Happy. And needless to say, my wife was not happy, but it was like I was giving her a little grief, just teasing my wife. I schedule, obviously, but the point I'm trying to make is that it's not like going out and figure. Look, here's a great one. We started with what's the name of that software we use? Calendly. You remember that? Well, I'll go and I'll establish this system and I'll implement Calendly. For those who don't know, it's an automated online calendar, appointment schedule, whatever. You probably have all used it or similar stuff. So I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do it. No, I let Happy do it. You know what I mean? And we now no longer have Calendly. Like, she is so good at it. And actually, as weird as it sounds, she enjoys it. So why am I going to get in the way of handling scheduling? Why am I going to get in the way of emails, right?
Well, I think the key with that is that it then allows you to focus on the things that you need to focus on. So we talked about Matthew. The parallel in James, in the Epistle of St. James, is really what this is. Like, above all, my brethren, do not swear either by heaven or by earth or with any other oath, but let your yes be yes and your no be no, that you may not fall under condemnation. With everything that we've been talking about, all of it is being able to focus on those things where you need to focus, focusing on those things where your attention is most necessary. The follow-up to that is, once you do agree to do something, then you need to be able to do it. You need to go after it with all of what you're going after it with. You need to put all your attention into it and really be able to buckle down and do it. Like, I struggle with this all the time, with these boundary settings and with all these things that we've been talking about up to this point. Like, my mom used to tell me all the time that I'm burning the candle at both ends and that at some point it's going to catch up to me. And, every so often it catches me. But by and large, like, I have to learn how to function, knowing that that's my desire, to be pulled in all these different directions. But when James says to this, I mean, he really convicts me. Let your yes be yes. So if I say yes to something, then I really need to give it my all, and I need to give it all of my focus, and I need to give it my best work.
Yeah.
Which then means that I need to allow my no to be no, because if I'm not going to give it my best work, if I'm not going to be able to give it my full attention, then I can't actually pull it off.
Totally.
And I need to not do it.
Totally. Like, I think about this that's a better question, but the first and the low-hanging fruit is, don't say yes to an invitation and then flake.
Yeah.
I mean, no way. It's the most abhorrent thing in the world. If you need to plan your calendar 6 months in advance in order to do that, fine, but don't ever do that. More, I think, important, or at least more interesting for this conversation, is what you just were talking about. Like, if you're going to do something, you've got to be able to give it 100%. Give your best effort, or give no effort. Don't get involved in it. Like, I don't want to see mediocre work, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to see, and hopefully I know that I have, but I don't want to put forth mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
You want to give it your all. So if you say yes, do the business that it takes, right? I get it. It's hard too. I mean, like, we all struggle. We all have, things coming at us, from all different angles.
All over the place. It's hitting you from all sides constantly, because everything else around us is really pushing that it's okay to flake. It's okay to give mediocrity. As long as you do your best, just do your best and it'll be fine. No, not do your best. Give it your best effort.
Yeah.
Try real hard. At least you tried. Like, no, when I say I want to give it my best, it's not that I'm just like trying at the level that you think I should be able to try. I'm holding myself accountable to a different standard. And I'll use the Steelers as an example. I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. I'm very unhappy with them at this moment. And you and I debate about Mike Tomlin all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because Mike Tomlin is a good coach.
I like him.
He's good.
You don't think he's great?
I don't think he's great.
He's won some Super Bowls.
He won 2 Super Bowls, one of them with the team that Bill Cowher built, and he lost a Super Bowl. So that's
who did he lose that to?
He lost that to the Green Bay Packers. Thank you very much. But none of that, and to Aaron Rodgers, who they may or may not. Don't get Aaron Rodgers under any circumstances for all of the Steelers a front office that's watching our show right now. But Tomlin prides himself on this idea that the standard is the standard. And on the outset, it looks like it's this great mantra, right? It looks like it's this great idea that the standard is the standard and we will not do anything less than the standard. But if the standard becomes mediocrity, and that's what you hold yourself to,
Yeah.
then the standard is not the standard that you really want it to be.
Right.
So you got to rise above that. You got to fight through that. You got to get better than that.
Yeah.
And like losing in the first round of the playoffs, but having a winning season is not the standard of excellent football.
Yeah.
Hypothetically speaking.
Asking for a friend, right? Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying. The Super Bowl, and look, it's funny too. I don't want to get off into the NFL, but every team says at the beginning of the year publicly, like, our goal this year is to win the Super Bowl. Like, they're all at least saying out loud that their standard is, to win the championship. Obviously, that readjusts very quickly throughout the season, maybe after week one for some teams.
Yeah.
Except maybe the Browns.
Yeah, that was decided before the season
Cleveland.
even started.
Sorry,
poor Cleveland. They're the butt of everyone's jokes, but they earn it.
Yeah. Maybe this is their year. Anyways, all of that kind of stuff. But it's a worthwhile point for our lives and a piece of conversation for us because, the standard should be in our lives to win the Super Bowl. However that, metaphor equates into whatever we're after. Like there's that saying that, it's from Silicon Valley. Done is better than perfect. And I understand that too, because I can, analysis paralysis, right? And over edit so that I've never put anything out. And then it's got to be perfect. And I keep going and then, never gets done, never gets produced. So I understand what the point of that is, but done isn't better than perfect, right? And so I think perfect should always be our goal. That should be what we're going for. But as you are saying, you have to put in that requisite effort, the proper effort in order to give your 100%. And your 100% may be better than mine. It still doesn't preclude me from giving it, right? Like,
yeah. And I think we have to recognize that we're holding ourselves to that. What is that 100%? What is that requisite effort? And we can never expect others to do more than we ourselves are willing to do.
All right. Say that again. That's good.
We can never expect others to do more than we are willing to do. In other words, it's not going to be handed to you.
Yeah.
The excellence that you seek. Like I used to joke before I got married that it would just be wonderful if someone would just show me a woman and say, here's your new wife. Like that would just be easy. That'd be wonderful. That would be great. I mean, it might not be, but it might be.
90 Day Fiancé, right?
90 Day Fiancé. Like,
that is.
That's a terrible show, but it's wonderful. But that would just be easy.
Yeah.
Instead, I met my wife. And boy, did she make me work for it.
Yeah.
Boy, did she put me through the ringer. And boy, did she make me really show that I was willing to put in the effort. And as she reminds me every time I remind her of that, she has been well worth it.
Yeah. I know she is for sure. But I mean, she's right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'm reminded of the quote from this movie, is the juice worth the squeeze? So like talking about orange juice, like, and you're juicing these oranges. Is it worth it? Is the juice going to be worth the effort that you put in? And what I have found in my life is no matter what it is that I am striving for, when I have put in the work that I needed to put in to make it happen, it has always been worth it because the work was worth it. The learning happened in the work.
Yeah.
And has then made the results worth it because I learned so much through whatever I was doing.
So the means the end justifies the means, or no, that's not the saying. How do they say it? Is it the journey or is it the destination?
Yeah, the journey is the destination.
It's both. Yeah.
It's all of it.
Yeah. I mean, because you obviously want to produce a good result, but also like, I think you're right. I mean, the process, man, that's, who's that? There's another sports team. Their motto is the process. But I mean, the process, you grow, you learn. So yeah, you don't want to abandon that either. It's probably both journey and destination. Nice.
Yeah. And I think this stuff's been great. Like it's really been a great way for us to look at it and see things from a different way and a different perspective. Um, my follow up to wrap everything up is I think you said you had some practical things that we could implement into our lives for how to do some of this. I know we talked about some of those with just saying no to everything. Is there anything else that you want to offer as kind of like a final thing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is a not necessarily a practical implementable tool, but they are new ideas, new ways to look at things, which would give birth or give rise to implementable tools that you could even figure out on your own. Like the first,
Hmm.
most important is you've got to recognize that you are under assault from everywhere. And it happens even from not just the requests. The assault happens in the requests you get from notifications from your social media and your text messages and your emails on your phone.
Oh yeah. I deleted Facebook from my phone
Yeah.
and my life. I mean, it's still a struggle because sometimes I'm bored and I want to go to Facebook and I find myself like my thumb moving to where it used to be on my screen, but it's taken a burden off.
Yeah, for sure. I did the same thing. I've felt better, and I deleted the icon.
Mm.
So if I have to open Facebook, it's a nuisance to go back to the App Store
And
and
download
download
it.
it and
Yeah.
start over. So in those moments where I have to, I go through the effort. But if it's the more moments of bored, I don't do it anymore. So it's totally good. So that leads to the point. You've got to be mindful that you are under assault from requests all over the place. I think the second one is you have to realize that, all right, if I'm going to be effective, I have to set up boundaries because I can do anything, but I cannot do everything, right?
Mhm.
Um, another connected phrase to that is recognizing that everything is not important.
Mm.
Some things are very important, others are not.
Yeah.
A third one is, and this is one of those things that and I fall prey to it as well. I have to. Um, you know, no, you don't have to. You choose to, right? Um, so remember, you can do anything, but not everything. You don't have to do everything. You can choose to do what you want to do, and that not everything, really, very few things are important. Um,
Mhm.
make sure you focus on the big dogs, right? Like we were talking earlier about
Yeah.
that 10x, 2x. Get those, get the big dogs going, and then offload things to people who are better at certain things than you are. Let that. You don't have to try to do everything, man. Do the things that you're good at, like Moses with the face to face with God, and then let um, you know judges handle the small disputes. So I hope those are some pretty good, offerings we can give to people. I think it's great stuff today. I mean, it's very practical what we went through today,
Mhm.
but I think all of it in wrapping it up allows us the space to be where we need to be and focus on the things that we need to be focusing on, particularly becoming warrior saints in our own lives and getting ourselves square with God. And a lot of that has to do with going to church, which is where we will end this episode and say that on Sunday, we will celebrate Orthros and Divine Liturgy at 9 and 10 a.m. Pacific time, respectively. Love to have you beautiful people with us. We'll be back again next week to go through some more fun stuff. But until then, as always, keep walking on the way of the warrior saint.